live my life with regrets, and I don't dwell on anything. I feel like it happened. It must have happened for a reason. I hope that I'm not here today because of what happened then. I hope I'm here today because of my achievements and because of my music.
What if one of the biggest pop icons of this generation nearly derailed his entire future over a split-second bathroom mistake? And what if the story you think you know about who he really is turns out to be way more layered than anyone expected? Stick around, because the truth behind Bruno Mars's early career and identity is full of surprises. Picture this: a dim bathroom inside the Hardwalk Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, September 2010. A rising artist is staring himself down in the mirror. He's 24. He's brand new to the spotlight. Gene Hernandez, the world would soon know him as Bruno Mars, had only just dropped his first single. Yet just hours later, he'd find himself cuffed and facing felony charges that could have shut the door on his entire career before it even had the chance to explode. But before we dive into the chaos of that night, let's rewind. Because to understand what pushed a kid from Honolulu onto the world stage, you need the backstory. From Honolulu prodigy to LA struggles. Born on October 8, 1985, in Honolulu, Hawaii, Gene Hernandez grew up in a home where music wasn't just a hobby, it was the family's lifeblood. His father, Peter Hernandez, came from a mix of Puerto Rican and Ashkenazi Jewish roots, with family ties reaching Hungary and Ukraine. His mother, Bernadette Bay, added Filipino and Spanish heritage into the blend. Their home was a non-stop soundtrack, a place where performing wasn't optional. It was the default. And Bernadette wasn't only mom. She was a hula dancer, a singer, and the kind of parent who could spot a spark of talent from a mile away. She nurtured every bit of creativity she saw in her kids, feeding the fire long before the world ever heard the name Bruno Mars.
My whole life, I feel like I've been struggling to do what I want to do, and that was music. It just wasn't easy. I had to go through some things, and but you can't regret it because I might not be here if it wasn't for that journey that I had to take.
From the time little Peter started mimicking Elvis Presley at just 2 years old, copying the King's hip swings and that iconic croony voice, his mom didn't shrug it off as a silly toddler phase. She leaned in and encouraged it.
Like he's singing, he's dancing, and his lip.
His what?
His lip.
His lip?
Yeah.
What is it about his lip that you like? What is it?
This.
By the time he hit 4, Peter was already on stage with his dad's band, rocking a tiny Elvis outfit for their Viva Elvis show. This kid wasn't just performing, he was commanding a whole audience before he even learned how to read. His dad eventually started calling him Bruno, inspired by wrestler Bruno Sammartino, because even as a child he had that big presence, that attitude, that swagger, and the nickname never left him. As he got older, Bruno soaked up every influence he could get his hands on. Michael Jackson, Elvis, James Brown, Prince, not just listening, but dissecting their performance styles, their runs, their dance moves, their stage control. But as vibrant as Hawaii was, it wasn't built to contain dreams this massive. So in 2003, at only 17, he took a huge leap and moved to Los Angeles. He had $100 in his pocket and a guitar slung over his back, and that was pretty much it. No roadmap, no real safety net, just ambition. And LA is brutal. The city swallows hopeful artists daily, and Bruno quickly learned that raw talent wasn't enough to survive. The next few years were rough. He scraped by playing poker to cover rent, crashed on floors, and wrote song after song that went nowhere. He even got dropped by his first label, Motown Records, in 2006. It was a tough hit, but it shoved him toward a new angle. If the spotlight wasn't ready for him yet, maybe he could get in through the studio door instead. That's when the Smezingtons began, a creative trio made up of Bruno, Philip Lawrence, and Ari Levine. Together, they started crafting hits for other artists.
Before anyone knew who I was producing music for other artists, and I had to be able to produce for a rock artist, a hip-hop artist, all kinds of different music.
They helped create Right Round. They wrote Wavin' Flag for Kanan. And then in 2009, everything shifted when they co-wrote Nothing on You with B.O.B., featuring Bruno on the hook. That smooth, soulful chorus blew up instantly. Suddenly, labels who never returned his calls were scrambling to sign him. When B.O.B. performed the track on the Ellen DeGeneres Show on March 22, 2010, it was Bruno's voice that stuck with viewers, including Ellen herself.
I just adore you. I really do.
And I'd like to thank Ellen, everyone. You know, this was the first, me and B.O.B. We performed Nothing on You. This was like our first time performing it on TV.
Nothing on You shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 2010. Got you, baby. Not long after, Bruno doubled down with Billionaire featuring Travie McCoy. And once again, it was his voice that stole the show on the chorus. 2 chart-topping smashes in a single year. And he still hadn't even released his debut album. That's when Aaron Bay Schuck, a rising exec at Atlantic Records and the stepson of Star Trek icon Leonard Nimoy, stepped in and signed Bruno to his first major solo deal. His debut project, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, was lined up for an October 2010 release. Everything in his career was finally aligning. And then came September 19, 2010. Bruno was out partying at the Hardwalk Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas when police caught him in a bathroom with 2.6 grams of snow. He was arrested and charged with felony possession. The media didn't hold back. Headlines screamed things like, "Bruno Mars drug bust threatens rising star's career."
And you had an incident yourself last year, which I know you don't want to talk about at length, but I want to ask you just really what you learned from that. You were found with in Las Vegas and so on. And for you at the time, I mean, potentially a big problem for you. But I think you dealt with it in a very mature way. What's your feeling about it, looking back on it now?
I don't live my life with regrets, and I don't dwell on anything. I feel like it happened. It must have happened for a reason. I hope that I'm not here today because of what happened then. I hope I'm here today because of my achievements and because of my music.
For someone who'd been grinding since childhood, watching everything he worked for wobble on the edge must have been terrifying. In a 2013 GQ interview, Bruno admitted he told officers that it was his first time trying illicit substances, something he later confessed wasn't true. He said he was drunk, panicking, and desperate to make the whole situation disappear. But reality didn't vanish. Bruno took the plea deal. A $2,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, counseling, and one condition. If he stayed clean and out of trouble for a year, the charge would be wiped. And in January 2012, after completing every requirement, his record was officially cleared. He called the entire ordeal a massive wake-up call, something that forced him to tighten his focus and pour everything back into the music. And here's the part people tend to forget. While all that legal drama was unfolding, Bruno was simultaneously preparing to drop the album that would redefine him. Doo-Wops and Hooligans arrived on October 4th, 2010, only weeks after his arrest, and it was a genre-defying breakthrough. Pop, reggae, R&B, soul. Bruno blended them all with that throwback flair only he could pull off. The lead single, Just the Way You Are, became a worldwide smash, topping charts across the globe and earning him his first Grammy nomination. Then came Grenade, and then The Lazy Song, whose music video famously featured Leonard Nimoy, thanks to a connection from Bruno's label exec, Aaron Bay Schuck. The album went triple platinum, and just like that, Bruno Mars was no longer the guy who sang killer hooks. He was a full-fledged superstar. From 2010 to 2012, he toured non-stop, building a reputation as one of pop's elite performers. He danced with the intensity of James Brown, sang with the soul of Stevie Wonder, and had that magnetic stage presence people compared to Michael Jackson. Those comparisons weren't exaggerations. He earned every single one. Fame, loss, and controversy. Underneath all the fame and non-stop touring, something much heavier was happening in Bruno's personal life. His mother, Bernadette Bayot, the woman who had believed in him before anyone else, was quietly dealing with serious health problems. The same mom who pushed him to follow every musical instinct, who backed him through every setback, was growing weaker. Then on June 1st, 2013, tragedy struck. Bernadette died of a brain aneurysm in Honolulu at just 55 years old. Bruno was shattered. He pulled back from the spotlight, canceled shows, and went silent for a while. When he finally opened up, he described his mom as "my world," admitting that losing her felt like losing his sense of direction entirely. That grief seeped into everything he created afterward. You could feel it in his voice, in his performances. Every time he walked on stage, he was carrying her memory with him. In December 2012, before her passing, Bruno had released Unorthodox Jukebox, his second studio album. If Doo-Wops and Hooligans introduced him to the world, Unorthodox Jukebox proved he was here to stay. Locked Out of Heaven delivered a reggae rock punch reminiscent of The Police. When I Was Your Man stripped everything back to a simple piano and vocal, exposing pure vulnerability. Treasure dropped 70s, 80s funk right into the middle of modern pop radio. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, later climbed to number 1, and went on to win the Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2014. That same night at the Grammys, Bruno performed a tribute to The Police, and Sting himself was smiling in the audience. But the true turning point came in January 2014. Bruno was chosen to headline the Super Bowl 48 halftime show. It's the single biggest music stage in the United States, and he absolutely delivered. More than 115 million viewers watched him tear up the stage, dancing, singing live, hopping behind the drums, all without a lineup of flashy guest features. Just pure, undeniable showmanship. It was the moment he officially silenced any critics who thought he wasn't big enough for that platform. Then came 2014, when Bruno linked up with producer Mark Ronson. Ronson, known for Amy Winehouse's Back to Black, was working on new material and thought Bruno might bring the spark he needed. One studio session later, they had created Uptown Funk. That track was pure electricity. Bold horns, thick bass, old-school funk swagger wrapped in modern polish. When it dropped in November 2014, it didn't just chart, it took over the entire culture. It held the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 for 14 straight weeks, tying the second longest run in history. The song later won Record of the Year and Best Pop Duo Group Performance at the Grammys. Bruno performed it everywhere. But one of the standout moments was on the Ellen DeGeneres show in March 2015, where he strolled through the crowd mid-performance and pulled Ellen up to dance with him. That clip has racked up over 75 million views on YouTube, making it one of the most watched daytime talk show performances ever. By November 2016, Bruno was ready to drop his third album, 24K Magic. This project was drenched in 90s R&B and New Jack Swing vibes, slick, flashy, and packed with confidence. The title track instantly became a party staple. That's What I Like delivered silky, smooth romance, while Finesse, especially the 2018 remix with Cardi B, reintroduced in living color-inspired dance routines to a new generation. At the 2018 Grammys, Bruno dominated. He swept all 6 categories he was nominated for, including Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. It was the first time in over 10 years that a male solo artist pulled off a complete sweep like that. But even at the height of his accomplishments, controversy found him. In March 2018, activist and writer Seren Sensei released a video accusing Bruno of cultural appropriation. She argued that because his racial identity wasn't easily defined, he was benefiting from black music and aesthetics without experiencing the same struggles black artists often face. Bruno eventually addressed those claims.
You can't look at an interview, you can't find an interview where I am not talking about the entertainers that have come before me. And the only reason why I'm here is because of James Brown, is because of Prince, Michael. That's the only reason why I'm here. I'm growing up as a kid watching Bobby Brown saying, okay, if that's what it takes to make it, then I gotta learn how to do the Running Man. I gotta learn how to do the moonwalk. That's it. And this music comes from love. If you can't hear that, then I don't know what to tell you.
The conversation around Bruno's role in black-influenced music didn't fade quietly. Social media lit up with arguments on both sides. Some fans defended him, pointing out that he always credits the legends who shaped his sound. Others argued that giving credit wasn't enough, that Bruno's fame stood on groundwork laid by black artists who never got the same visibility or financial payoff. Bruno eventually weighed in during a 2021 interview, saying his work was meant as a tribute, not exploitation. He explained that just as he built on the greats before him, he hoped future artists would build on what he created. Back in 2017, during the 24K Magic World Tour, Bruno crossed paths with Anderson.Paak, a powerhouse musician known for drumming, rapping, singing, and producing. The two clicked from the start. They grew up loving the same icons: Stevie Wonder, Parliament Funkadelic, New Edition, and they both valued real instruments and live musicianship over digital shortcuts.
Me and Andy met on tour in 2017, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we was on tour together, and then from there we started hanging out and listening to music. He put me on some music, I put him on some music, and then we went to the studio a couple times, wrote some songs that ended up on Ventura, right?
Right. Yep.
And yeah, this quarantine, I called Andy up, said come to the studio, and kind of snowballed into something big.
Then 2020 hit. With COVID-19 shutting down tours and travel, Bruno reached out to Anderson. With nothing pulling their attention away, they locked in creatively. What came out of that isolation was Silk Sonic, a full-blown collaborative project soaked in 70s soul, funk, and slow-burn swagger. Their debut single, Leave the Door Open, arrived in March 2021. Parliament Funkadelic legend Bootsy Collins heard the track and proclaimed they needed a name, and he's the one who officially dubbed them Silk Sonic. The song was irresistible, smooth, classy, nostalgic. It shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
My first song that I ever released.
Yeah.
And Ellen was the first person that allowed us to sing that song on her platform, and that song became #1 very shortly after that performance.
I can spot talent, and I mean, really, seriously though, you were such an amazing performer, and now what you're doing with Silk Sonic with Anderson.Paak is brilliant.
Come
It's
on.
brilliant. Congratulations on the 4 Grammys.
Their full album, An Evening with Silk Sonic, dropped in November 2021. Tracks like Smokin' Out the Window, Skate, and After Last Night felt like stepping straight into a vintage soul time capsule. At the 2022 Grammys, Silk Sonic swept all 4 categories they were nominated for, including Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Meanwhile, Bruno's Las Vegas residency at Park MGM turned into one of the hottest reservations in the city. Every show sold out. Fans walked away raving about the energy he brought night after night. But in March 2024, chaos hit the internet when rumors started flying that Bruno had racked up a $50 million gambling debt to MGM Resorts. The story spread like wildfire, with headlines claiming his casino habits were spiraling out of control. MGM Resorts quickly responded, calling the rumor completely false, and stressing that their partnership with Bruno was built on trust and mutual respect. The claims were dismissed, but not before they made massive waves online. Bruno's future. When January 2025 rolled around, fans were hit with something nobody really expected. News broke that Bruno Mars and his longtime partner, model Jessica Caban, had quietly gone their separate ways after almost 14 years together. They'd been a couple since 2011, managing to stay surprisingly low-key despite all the chaos that comes with celebrity life. From what insiders shared, the split wasn't messy, more of a mutual decision, each choosing to dive deeper into their own careers. Bruno doesn't have kids, and since the breakup, he's kept everything about his personal world locked down. People close to him say he's single right now and pouring his energy into whatever he's cooking up next in the studio. And about that new music, he's been hinting at fresh solo material all through 2024 and into 2025. Silk Sonic let everyone hear his love for that vintage soul and funk, but folks in the industry are whispering that his next project is going to stretch way beyond those retro vibes. Think more experimental production, a little more electronic seasoning, but still grounded in the classic Bruno DNA. He's also been spotted working with some major names behind the scenes, though no official features have been confirmed yet. Outside the booth, his business world keeps leveling up. His rum brand, Selvaray, which he co-founded, has turned into a heavyweight in the premium spirit space. That success alone has boosted his wealth significantly, with estimates putting his net worth somewhere around $175 million in 2025. Meanwhile, his Las Vegas residency at Park MGM refuses to slow down. Every new batch of dates sells out instantly, proving that people will still line up to see him perform like it's his first night on stage. Fans who've gone say it feels almost unreal. A full-blown masterclass in live performance where nothing is out of place. His roots stay close too. Bruno has 4 sisters, Jaime, Tiara, Tahiti, and Presley, who used to perform as the Lilas. His brother, Eric Hernandez, has held down the drums for Bruno's band, the Hooligans, since day one. Despite fame, the family still sticks together, especially when it comes to honoring their late mother and the musical foundation she gave them. He's never made movies or TV the main focus of his career, but he's shown up in some memorable ways. He voiced Roberto in Rio 2 back in 2014, popped up as himself on Saturday Night Live more than once, and has appeared throughout various music documentaries. And of course, you can't talk about his cultural footprint without mentioning the Super Bowl halftime shows, his own in 2014, and the Coldplay-Beyoncé collab edition in 2016. Rumors always pop up about him being in the mix for future halftime shows too. The conversation around cultural appropriation still surfaces every now and then. Some critics argue that Bruno has been able to thrive in styles that were built by black artists, often with fewer hurdles and way more mainstream embrace. Others push back, saying he's always highlighted the icons who shaped him, that his mixed ethnic background complicates simple labels, and that trying to police who gets to make what kind of music only limits creativity. No matter where people fall in that debate, there's one truth everyone seems to agree on. Bruno Mars carved out a lane that nobody else occupies. He's not just borrowing from older eras, he blends them, updates them, and puts his own spin on everything he touches. His live shows are consistently unmatched, and his ability to write, produce, play, and perform puts him in a different category from most modern pop acts. As 2025 continues, the anticipation for his next move keeps building. Fans aren't wondering if he'll drop new music. The real mystery is what direction he's going to take. Will he double down on the throwback sound that made him a global superstar? Will he jump into more modern production? Could we see another Silk Sonic chapter, or is he gearing up to fully reclaim the solo spotlight? Whatever he chooses, one thing's already locked in. Bruno Mars has cemented himself as one of this generation's defining artists, someone who blended eras, crossed genres, and created songs that people will be dancing to, crying to, and celebrating with for decades.